Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to our special meeting of September the 9th at 7:45 p.m. to deal with a request for demolition of 5616 McMurray. On my right, to my far right, is our city clerk, Jason Prévost. We have Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Ruth Kovac, myself, Mitchell Brownstein, the mayor, Councillor Stephen Erdely, Councillor Sidney Manizri, Councillor Mitch Kajavsky, the Associate City Manager, Nadia DeFuria, the Co-City Manager, Jonathan Schechter. I'd like to welcome you all, and specifically Miriam Lang, our former Mayor Lang's wife. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, lots of fond memories of many years working together with Mayor Lang, and yourself. So welcome for being here. As I said to you when I was outside prior to the start of this meeting, the intention of this council is to defer the item, but to inform the public that are here today of the concerns that we've received and to hear from you, which is all being recorded, so that staff and council can consider what we can do legally. So I do want to highlight what the law allows in a situation of this nature, which is that we need to, and this is what the law requires, is that we need to consult with the adjacent neighbors, which was done, that building is allowed to be built up to 25% in height increase, taking into account only the average height of the neighboring buildings located on the same side of the street. That's the law. Taking into account the height of the neighboring houses on the same side of the street, they're allowed to build 25% higher. In this particular proposal, the height above the street, taking into account that 25%, is 27 feet, and they're requesting 25 feet 4 inches. So they're in fact 1 foot 8 inches less than what they're allowed to do according to the bylaw, is the present request. The one exemption that is being requested that requires a minor exemption is a request to reduce the side setback by 3 feet, and that requires a minor exemption, and that we have control over as a council. We can give it or we can refuse it. So that is the law. However, in addition to that, and we're going to get to question period, but before I hear your questions, because we're not voting on this tonight, as I said, we're deferring it, but before I get to your questions, I wanted to share with you, in case some of the people aren't here who sent me emails, that concerns include, that it will greatly disturb the neighborhood with noise during the demolition, construction problems, as well as that it doesn't fit into the neighborhood. Some concerns are that the design is dramatically different from the rest of the homes in the area, and though the drawing received by the public does not show the proposed building materials to be used, it's clear from the design that the intending building materials will not only make the house stand out from all the others on the block, but will be a bit of an eyesore when compared to the surrounding environment. As a visual artist, it is important that the environment in which we live looks like it all belongs together and that each element of the environment is part of the overall good. I'm trying not to let people know who wrote what, so that's why I might miss some words here and there if it identifies the person who wrote the email. I also have concerns over the proposed height of the building. Each morning we have a beautiful view of the sun streaming through the trees across the street, which warms the heart through the year, in the winter too, brings some warmth and also light into our home. I'm concerned of the height blocking that. Let's see. So the sun was on that one. Other concerns, of course, those are normal, but mentioned, of course, such as noise, disruptions, dust, traffic, redirection, vibration, construction, degradation, and impact on the sewage system through any construction, impact on the school and those who work from it as it is nearby, and that doesn't fit into the character of the neighborhood. Now, as I said, there's certain things that we can deal with, such as the points that were mentioned about construction materials, looking in carefully to see how they fit into the neighborhood, design, to see what the other houses look like and see if this will fit into the neighborhood. And that's why we want to send this back to the professionals, including architects, town planners, city manager, our urban planning director, members of council, and then their recommendations will be sent back to the entire council to consider what we can do according to the law. But I keep on saying that, according to the law. I'm a lawyer too. But according to the law, meaning there's things we can do and things we can't do. So when a person purchases a property, they have a right to do certain things on their property, including a demolition, a renovation, an expansion within certain parameters as explained in our bylaw. So all that being said, we'll now let you add on to the comments for the record. I have one person that filled out the form here. You can fill out forms, or for this meeting, I don't really care if you come one person at a time, but I believe Wabiki Shied, come forward. You'll be the first to speak.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm concerned about the environment, like many other people. Over the past 2 weeks, I collected a lot of articles in the Gazette.
But you're dealing with the demolition request?
No.
No, so this meeting is specifically for questions on the demolition request. The next meeting's at 8. We'll call you back then. Okay, would anybody else like to address this issue? You can just come forward, give your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Eric Dahan. I live at 5618 McMurray, the house adjacent to 5616. I wrote one of those letters to the Assistant City Clerk. I just wanted to have my objections on record. Quick background, how much time do I have?
Well, it's supposed to be 2 minutes, and
2
then
minutes.
I can answer, and then another 30 seconds, and I know other people might want to speak, so do the best you can.
I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
So,
We keep a timer going, or 3 minutes is the beginning. It's just started, but we'll give you an
wow.
extra few seconds. Go ahead. Just to give you an idea. It's
No
like, It's
pressure.
like public speaking, you know?
All right,
It gives you an
great.
idea.
So I live in the area, been in Côte Saint-Luc most of my life, love the municipality, love the city, love the people, like what it was, what it is, what it can become. I'm concerned about what it might become. I'm looking, just imagine this is a high-resolution image that you can see. The house proposed is out of character for the street. Living on a street with a lot of traffic in the morning. I don't know if any of you have been on McMurray in the morning. This is a good day. It's a nightmare. I could just imagine when they'll be tearing down of the house and the demolition and all the impacts on the infrastructure that I've been already impacted by. My neighbor's house had to have the sewage line redone. It's dug out my whole front yard. That was not a great experience. Concerned about the vibrations, the noise, the pollution, my impact. I'm a consultant. I work from home. They already started working on the house, by the way, and I haven't seen any permits. I can hear the hammering from my house.
They're going to fix it. They can't do anything about
The
it.
impact on the school, the parents, the neighborhood, and my neighbors.
Yeah, it's
There's a
not you. We
buzzing.
have a problem that
impact on the-
started today, and we'll get that fixed, that buzzing noise.
That's okay. Mostly concerned about the house being out of character and the height. The height is very imposing, and my neighbors that I care about that are on McClear, which is a house which is about 3 feet lower. It's really noticeable when you go in the backyard. You actually see that the house is lower. They'll be greatly impacted by the light. So will I. So will the neighbors on the other side. I think there has to be serious considerations done on the design. Everyone's allowed to, buy a house and update it. I mean, I'm totally for that. It has to be reasonable and within the confines and within the appropriateness of the area. So I would like to ask the council to seriously think and consider all arguments that will be presented today. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for adding those items. And yes, the issues that we can consider that will be going back to staff and council are the design, the question that you bring forward about the difference of the height of the land being 3 feet difference from lot to lot. We'll look into that to see if that has any effect on height restrictions according to our bylaw. And I think those are the two things, according to law, that we could look into. Anybody else would like to address the mic? Look at that. You're going to have to stand there like that the whole night.
Don't move, don't move.
No, something about, how did you even know that that was doing that? Okay. Communications director knows how to keep it. Oh my God, look, you're going to be in a Suburban. You're like. You did it. His birthday was a few days ago.
Happy birthday.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paolo Aurore. I'm here with my wife, Heidi Mami. We live at 5625 McAleer, and to just make things a little quicker, I will say the comments, and she agrees. She already knows what I'm saying, so 2 for the price of 1. I just want to say, first off, I understand that the height is not something that we can talk about today, but I would like to reiterate that perhaps we should be looking once again at those rules. In this particular situation, I live on McAleer. I just went in the backyard. I did some quick measurements. Their grade is 2.5 feet at my house. They tell me it's 3 feet at his house, but 2.5 feet higher. And their houses are sitting higher.
But the bylaw doesn't take into account? The
I
bylaw doesn't
understand.
take into account your house?
Pardon me?
Well, it doesn't take into account your house because you're behind, right? Or you're a neighbor?
That's why. I'm just saying
You're
that
behind.
I'm behind. I'm on McAleer. I'm just saying I'd like to reiterate your point earlier that perhaps the bylaw should take into account the houses there, and that's perhaps for the future reference. As for the 3-foot exemption, I think we're already talking about a very large house. Now we're talking about even going closer to the property line. I have 6.5 feet. I just measured that today too. And I can tell you in the winter, unless I am very judicious about removing the snow, it's impossible, impassable. Even with 6.5 feet, it's hard to remove the snow. I end up with a little footpath this big. So I don't think 3 feet is enough. And my personal concerns are with snow, fire safety, and overall crowding. And we are talking about the character of the neighborhood, so let's talk about the fact that as big as this building is going to be, it's already going to be very high, and we're already going to be talking about bringing it as wide as possible on one side. That also, to me, signals to that neighbor next door that they will never be able to get an exemption because there's already an exemption. So,
Right, according to the bylaw, we are required to speak to the neighbor who they're planning to encroach upon. That has been done, and the neighbor has not objected to that 3-foot setback closer to their house.
I'm learning
And
new
that neighbor
things.
is 5614 McMurray.
Sorry, my first day on
Yeah.
in council. Apart from that, yes, I'd like to reiterate what you've said earlier. The design doesn't seem like it's going to fit the neighborhood. We have red brick. This doesn't look like it's going to be that way. And windows, et cetera, and the grade, and that beautiful tree is probably going to have to come down. So that's, size needs to take more houses. Yeah, and I've already said that. And to Madam's point, there's also an issue, wider issue for council I would like you to consider in the future for bylaw changes, sustainability. These houses are built like tanks. They are literally log cabins veneered with brick. Inside is Douglas fir. It's old Douglas fir. It's one of the strongest softwoods you can possibly get. The floors are all solid birch. The trim is all solid birch. I just did these renovations in my house. These things they've got at least another 50 years of life. So we're going to be throwing all of that out. And perhaps council at a future point can address that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Any other comments to add? I think Mr. Lang's coming, and then you can go next. So Dave Lang, and the address is
Dave Lang, 5619 McAleer.
619.
Yeah. My home is probably the most impacted in this situation. I'm directly behind 5616 McMurray. Looked at that house for many years. I've lived in Côte Saint-Luc since 1954, and was only out of that house for 10 years when I was on my own, and then I bought the house from my parents, and I'm still there. I've just spent $75,000 over the last 2 years, actually a little bit more, renovating. That's the house I want to retire in next year, and now I'm faced with this situation. As was mentioned before, the biggest problem is the house does not fit the character of anything I look at from my side, which is behind, and certainly when you're on the street, on McMurray, it won't look like anything that exists there now. Another big problem is the height of the house, as Paulo mentioned. My property, I measured it yesterday, is just over 3 feet lower than the land where that house is now. Their basement is 3 feet higher. In other words, it's not dug in as much. So right away, they're 6 feet higher just as a single-story structure. So basically, I would be looking at a big monolithic square behind me with an extra set of windows. Mayor Brownstein, I showed you the picture, the site view from my, maybe I didn't, I showed someone else, the site from my back bedroom. Right now, the existing window can look down into the bedroom, and I'm just trying to imagine windows way up another 15 or 17 feet higher. I mean, you'll be able to see the floor in any of the rooms in the house. That's how difficult the situation would be. So the problem not only is the height. I understand you can't do anything about the height, but there are other things that should be considered. The biggest thing is it doesn't really fit in. There's some notes here, let me see. Noise and dust. We're going to have to put up with this for probably a year. And, you know, just looking to retirement, I can't believe how the timing has been so poor in this. Not your fault. I would also like to mention that there seems to be something bigger going on here, in that people in surrounding areas where a demolition is going to happen are not given a written form of some sort saying that this is going to go on, and be able to put their 2 cents in there. That house behind me is very well built. It's built just like my house. Paolo was describing how these materials are. They've put a new roof on that house less than a year ago. I understand from town planning that they want to use the original foundation of the house, which goes to show that the foundation is sound, and so is the basement. So here we are tearing down a beautiful house that can be wonderfully renovated. I mean, I've done mine. You walk into my house, and you're welcome to come anytime. It looks like a new house. I've restored the beauty of that house back to its original form, and my wife and I are very proud of what we've done. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope some consideration will be made, especially in the fact that it really does not fit where they're proposing it to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lang. And yes, it's being sent back to see what ways can be done to help it fit better into the neighborhood. In terms of what we do as a council, though, I want to make it clear on the record, we do more than what's required by law. Putting up that sign is not required. We put up the sign, and we publish in the newspapers. And now that we're deferring it, we're going to have to publish again. So, and I think the neighborhood knows that it's happening, but we still need to publish it again. So we will. Go ahead.
Chaim Frochter, I live at 7918 Westbrook. Westbrook is a perpendicular street to McMurray. Honorable Mayor, you just mentioned that the neighbor from 5614 gave his permission for the extension.
He didn't object.
He did not object. In my way here, I just passed by to take the address. He came to me and asked me, are you going to the meeting? He says, I don't want to have the changes. So I'm very surprised
So
to
have
hear.
him
with
make
the-
a formal objection. Have him make the formal
I
objection.
will definitely do it, to do a formal objection, because probably he did not understand really what is really required. Maybe he did not see the plan, he didn't see much, and
Because I'm
that's a
told by staff
possibility.
that they reached out specifically to him and sent a particular letter to his home. Maybe he missed it, but he has the right to object.
But you don't need a signature of a person if he agrees to do that?
There's a requirement for rejection. He has to give an objection, but, so he still can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so I need somebody to move resolution to. Someone else. Go ahead, and then I'll need you to move a resolution to move it, to defer it. Okay.
Hi, thank you. My name is Heather Thompson. I'm at 5620 McClear Avenue. So this proposed demolition and reconstruction is directly across from my home. I'm the house in front of Dave, so it's kind of direct line for us. Everything that has been mentioned, the design, as well as the height, it will obscure our lovely view of the sun in the morning, of the trees that we can see. Having this big monstrous house will be much more than an inconvenience for me specifically and my family, not just the neighborhood. This might sound a little out of the ordinary, but I want to put forth that it's more than, we're talking a lot about the actual building and the laws. I want to put forth that we look at the noise and the dust as an inconvenience. For me, it's actually going to significantly impact my daily life. If this goes through, I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 young children who take their naps twice a day, and the constant noise and dust is going to make it probably impossible for my 2 young children to sleep. I know that other people work from home. There are other people that are retired, and so this is a huge inconvenience for people. Sometimes it's minor, a lot of people are at work, but there are a lot of us that are at home. And so my question is, and I don't know the answer to this, what are the laws of demolition? Can anybody just demolish a house when it's structurally sound? It's a beautiful house. I walked by there this evening. I haven't been inside, but if it's like mine, it has hardwood floors. It's built to last. Can a house just be demolished just because someone wants?
If it's not a heritage home, and we don't have heritage homes in Côte Saint-Luc, although maybe we should. I've often said that we should look through some of our really, really old homes and make them heritage homes. But other homes, if you're not a heritage home, which I hope we should get some of those, people are allowed to do a major renovation, a demolition, a reconstruction. They purchase the land, and then as long as it meets within the bylaws, they are allowed to go forward.
Even with a fire hydrant in front?
Yeah, there's bylaws to protect that and to take into account.
Okay, well, I know my time is almost up, but I would just like to also reinforce what was said about the space in between houses. I also have about 6.5 feet, and trying to get to my backyard is almost impossible in the winter with 2 houses side by side, snow coming down in between. There's almost no place to walk, so I would consider that a hazard to only have 3 feet between them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask Councillor Kovac to just make a resolution for deferral.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move that 5616 McMurray, the item be deferred until a future council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Kovac, seconded by Councillor Kajawski. Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously, and call for adjournment. Councillor
So moved,
Kovac,
Mr. Mayor.
seconded by Councillor Kajawski. All in favor? We're adjourned from this meeting. Thank you all for coming.